Hey, this is Bill Leeb from Frontline Assembly, and you are listening to an exclusive interview with COMA magazine.
So your brief time with Skinny Puppy is pretty well known. What did you learn from that period, and why did you branch out?
Well, you know, with Skinny Puppy, it was like we were all huge music fans at first, and so I think that's what brought us together. But I think that at the end of the day, you know, with Kevin came up with the name, and Olga was obviously going to be the vocalist. I felt like the third wheel, you know, even though we were best of friends, and I thought the longer I stay with this band, I will never shake that identity. And I kind of, you know, as much as I like doing that type of music, I always had this other side. I wanted to be more, you know, sort of the whole front 242 thing, you know, the rhythmic, you know, a lot more rhythm, a lot more sort of sequenced music. And so I thought I better get out now while, you know, so I can still try and build an identity for myself. And I guess it caused a bit of a rift at the time, not so much on my part, but, you know, from that camp. But I think it's all worked out for the best, you know, because we all talk, and that band's still going strong, Ogre's still going strong, we're doing our thing, I've done other things, and so it was probably for the best, ironically enough, you know.
That's awesome. With 1992's Tactical Neural Implant, you replaced the harsh beats with hip-hop and techno-influenced rhythms. With Flavor of the Week, it was more breakbeat and techno influences. Were any of these sounds from this time influenced by your time with Skinny Puppy? And with Flavor of the Week, was it just a continuation of the sound you were working on with your side project, Equinox?
Well, I think that actually Flavor came out first. And as far as the breakbeats go, see, that's the thing. I was more of a Prodigy fan and that kind of music, or what have you. And like Kevin, he didn't like that kind of music. So I think, I don't think any of that kind of beats. I think we were one of the first actually to use those kind of beats in that, you know, cross industrial electronic music, using breakbeats and stuff. And I think that's sort of just kind of was our own accord, you know. And and like Flavor of the Week, like I said, like came before. That was me and Chris's first record together, and I think after Reese left, and so it was a big hole to fill, and it was very difficult at first for us to, you know, we should have probably waited a little longer and maybe got Greg to mix it, but, you know, we just jumped in with both feet. But, you know, eventually we really got it sorted out by Implode and stuff, and, you know, I think sometimes you just got to do these things, you know, and you can't plan life or music, you know, it just sort of takes you and takes you where it has to go, and you just follow it, and just gotta, you know, you just grow with it as artists, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Millennium featured a combination of metal guitars, electronic music, and media samplings, which is more on the industrial metal side of the spectrum of music. And it was the same way with Hardwired. I know Reese Fulber was a part of Fear Factory at the time. Do you think that played a part in the more heavy guitar influences on the albums?
Well, you know, ironically enough, with Millennium, we just got signed to Roadrunner, which is like, you know, a huge metal label, right? And me and Reese had spent 6 months writing a Frontline album, which really sounded more like New Order. And then we thought one day, you know, I don't know if this is really what we wanted to do anymore. And so I went and I bought a single by Pantera called The Walk. And I brought it in and I said, Reese, check this out, check out this riff. And it was and we were like hooked, and we were like, okay, this is it. And because we were on Roadrunner, bands like Pantera, Fear Factory, all these other bands, we had access to all these CDs, and we could take these riffs and just clear them, and it didn't cost us anything, and, you know, we were exposing those bands, and so we had a feel that we were like kids in a candy store with all these great guitar riffs. So I think we put together a classic album, and like now we could never do that because, you know, like sampling and expenses and stuff, and so it's just being at the right time at the right place. But that song, I think, and then, you know, after that we did that Fears and Mind Killer remix EP, which did really well. And then Reese just took the ball and ran with, you know, with Machine Head, Fear Factory, and all these other bands, and but it was that song, that single. I walked in, it was in the used bin at that record store on 4th Zulu Records, it's called, and it's just little things like that that can change your life, you know. and that's what it was for us. That's how that record started. And then so all the songs we had written for Frontline ended up being on the noise unit. What's it called, decoder? Ended up we just stuck them on there, sort of kind of finished, not finished. and I'm glad we did, because we never looked back since. You know what I mean?
Millennium was an awesome album.
So there you go. There's the
Wow. So now you have
history.
it. Pantera.
Pantera, all the way. Unfortunately, some of those band members aren't around anymore. But
Yeah. So you released your album Improvised Electronic Device in 2010. While Angry from Laws of Deception remind me more of the Millennium album, a lot of the songs on this album are more influenced by electro, it seems. Are you just experimenting with the sound, or is this a reflection of the fickleness of the scene and how it's breaking away from the old style of industrial and leaning more towards purely dance-inspired bands and rhythms?
are you talking about the new album?
Yeah.
Jeremy. He had a lot to do with it. He was half of it. So
I don't know, like, to tell you the truth, I don't know if I would say it was a very electro-inspired record, because shifting, yes, but I mean, you're missing, like, the Ministry song we did.
Yeah.
Al Jorgensen.
Well, that counts under the Millennium
That's true.
spectrum.
IED, the first track as well, 5/4 time signature. That's
True.
definitely a heavy Southern kind of melt. I would say though, I think it's always a fuck you to the whatever's mainstream. Like with this band, for the most part, it's not meant. It's not meant to be tongue in cheek. Though I don't think there was any tongue in cheek on this record. I think it's more deliberate attempt, or not even attempt, but executed.
we hate that stereotypical industrial music, distorted vocal, put 3 pounds of makeup on. Blah, 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 blah. I think that's what was killing the scene, and that's what a lot of critics were going like, well, weren't taking it serious anymore, and it was like, I still think that, we try to defy that and write songs, and then it doesn't matter how you dress them up, but there's still a great track under there and an emotion and a lyric, and it's not a stupid lyric, you know what I mean? And so I think that goes a long way,
It definitely encompasses everything FLA's done in the last 20 years. There's
It's all
no
the best
question about
bits,
it.
right? But like this record couldn't have been made 20 years ago, because things like this take time in your life, and you evolve with the people and everything you do. So this was a record probably 20 years in the making,
Dave McKean has done a few album covers for you. How did the relationship start, and do you plan on him having do any more covers for you?
For Frontline, I think he's like the third or fourth member, whichever way you want to look at it. And he's
the Andy
we
Warhol.
met him,
He's the Andy Warhol.
He's the image of the band, in that way. And I met him through. He did a few Roadrunner covers, and when I saw them, I'm like, who's this artist, And I just love what he did. And then I checked out his Sandman stuff and all this, and he's the most friendliest guy. I have his personal phone number. He came to our show in England. He's about this big. He's got long black hair. He looks like a little black goth gnome kind of guy. Super no ego at all, right? For a guy with that much talent, just a great little guy. And like with IED, we just said, here's the title,
Roll with it.
and he just went around with it. And I think his stuff is really original, So
I thought that was just from seeing all the covers, I thought what I liked about Flavor was it was the opposite of everything. It's like, this record, I loved how he went with white. It was like reverse.
I was surprised when I
everything.
saw it. I was very surprised when I saw it. I was like, okay. It's not
He brought it over to my place. He's like, check this out. And I threw it on my desktop, and I was like, that's the one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the one.
Cool.
Different.
Are there any new CDs on the horizon, either with Frontline Assembly or your various side projects?
Well, you can answer that too.
Anything?
What are we mixing right now?
The new Delirium record.
Ooh, nice.
And it's going to be great, right?
Yep. We've been working on that one for just shy of 3 years, on and off between tours and whatnot.
How many songs have we have done?
We did seven
or 8 songs
7
together.
or 8 songs, and then him and Reese have done about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're killer. It's all killer. It's really dark. It's really trippy.
Where
It's
did
just
you
like.
put it out?
And so
It's
like,
coming
well,
out.
dude,
God.
we're getting mixes every day, like via
We've been
the
working-
internet with Greg,
Yeah.
and Reese is working on some of the songs, and so we were hoping for a late fall release this year, but worst case scenario, early next spring, because Network really want to set up the record because Delirium is a big artist for them.
Yeah.
And these days, setting up an album is really important. Like through internet, through remixes, through chill out stations. So, but we're really stoked about this because I've never done an album with half with one guy and half the other, and then all together, and it's much more electronic and edgy, though. So I think the kids will like it. Right?
Yeah, and better to get something. It's better to get something
cool.
later that sounds better than something now.
That's true.
And constantly have something coming out that's not anything.
So
quality.
that's all I'm focusing on. And it's like these days, because people don't buy as much music, it's much more important to focus on your main things and make sure that they're really good and you represent those, because you can put out 10 CDs a year, and if they're all sort of mediocre and you don't follow them up, selling 300-400 CDs is pretty much a waste of time, right? So you better really focusing on the things that people really want to hear and that that you like. So, and Jeremy has his own project too called LSD, Left Spine Down, which
that's coming out August 23rd on Metropolis Records.
Oh, awesome.
So
we'll probably review it then.
Probably. Hopefully.
So I mean, between that and this, it's good. We're excited. I'm excited about this Delirium record.
I am too. Come on.
And then we actually have to do one more for Frelon as well, because ID came out last year, and because we got so many album of the year and great reviews and stuff, we're scared to tackle another monster. So we decided we're going to be completely different with the next one and use no guitars and just make a big tweaky, crazy record. And that's what we say now, but all of a sudden they'd be an acoustic album, right? I don't know. You know how music, when you start, it takes you somewhere, you can plan it, but it never goes where you want. It just goes its own way, and that's just the way it is, and you have to let it go. Yeah. Otherwise it sounds contrived, so.
That's true. With all your works on movie soundtracks, do you plan on doing more soundtrack work in the future? And are there any movies that are out now that you wish you could have done music for?
Well, yeah, I really would love to score like a movie like District 9 or any, Moon or whatever.
Sunshine.
Moon was amazing.
Moon was fantastic.
But, it's very, very competitive and very challenging, and obviously that would be... Reese went to LA to try that for a while, and, they have casting calls. Composers go in, there's a fucking lineup of them, right? And they're good, they're all good, and they're all trained, classically trained, they can play every instrument, and it's a crapshoot to get a really good movie, especially now. So it seems unrealistic. I mean, if some guy, Trent Reznor, he kind of lucked out, right, with David Lynch and Social Network, and now he's doing that Girl with the Red Dragon tattoo. He's scoring the whole film, right?
You should have done
David
that.
Lynch is doing the remake of that. But it started with that movie 7, right? That great intro that was all trance music, right, that David Lynch used, and so they built up a friendship through that. So I don't know if it happens, great,
Vancouver's got a very vibrant movie scene.
Maybe one day I'll get lucky, like the new Alien, the trilogy. That would be great, right?
Oh my god, that'd be awesome.
So we'll see. Never say never, right?
That's true.